Hello, everybody. I'm Sharon Taylor, founder and CEO of the Business Vision and Development Center. And with me today is Ruth Tisdale, the owner of Another Word for Travel. How you doing, Ruth?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
But first, I got to ask you because when I saw your name, Another Word for Travel.
Mhm.
Why did you put word instead of world?
Because when people think of travel, they have their own kind of synonyms that they put with travel. Sometimes travel is just an all-inclusive experience. I go to my grandmother's house, I do this. And so another word for travel is kind of like a play on there's another type of travel out there that's available to you so that you're not just vacationing. All of my trips are about experiencing the places that you're in. And so when we think of travel, I want people to make the synonym that it's a different experience that you're gonna get with my you're
Oh,
not
it's a
because
different
you know
experience.
it's
We're
a
going to talk about
different.
that in a minute.
Yeah, and like our tagline is like we don't book travel, we design experiences. And so that's the whole play on it is that when you book with me, I'm not going to just send you to an all inclusive, which I can do, but most of my trips are let me get into experience, let me experience the locals, let me really dive into the culture.
Okay, so when did you start Another Word for Travel and how did you get into the travel industry?
So I started another word for travel in 2017. I was 33, I think, at the time. Yeah, 33 at the time. And I went on what I call my Jesus year trip. And so I went around the world, went to Egypt, South Africa, Greece, China. I went to about nine or so different countries around the world. And so started recording my experiences. And when I did that around the world trip, I may have had like 25 countries under my belt. Now I'm all the way up to 108 as of this recording. And so it really spawned my love of travel, my thirst for travel. And so started to travel more. People started to say, "Oh, can you give me the best hotel in X place? Can you give me the best hotel in Y place?" And so it just started to grow organically. Every time I would travel somewhere, I posted on social media and I would get a request to, "Hey, can you do my itinerary?" And one of my first trips that I organized was to Ghana. And so from there and those people's experience, my business just kind of took off. And so yeah, it just kind of grew organically.
How many times have you been to Ghana?
I think I've been to Ghana about six times now, and I can't tell you how many trips I've planned to Ghana. So Ghana is has become like my own second home. So I absolutely love Ghana. I think it's a great when people say like I want to go to Africa, um, Ghana is Ghana is like the epitome of Africa because you can get so much in Ghana. You get culture. You can get, if you want to venture, you can go up north and see some of the animals. You really get an experience back to your roots, especially for as African American or Black Americans. We get to really experience where we come from and yeah, it is what people think of when they think of Africa. So I love whenever someone says, I want to go to Africa, where should I go first? I always say, go to Ghana.
And speaking of that, because you curated, and I'm going to
Yes.
say curated my trip to Ghana.
Hmm.
And what was so special about you was that you took into account the needs of my partner and I.
Hmm.
You curated the excursions.
Hmm.
The hotel was 5 star. The pickup, the whole thing. Because let me just tell you, at first I didn't want to go. I thought it was going to be hot, dusty, and I wasn't going to like it. But from the time I left DC to get onto the plane, all my fears of what am I going to do? How am I going to get there? Who's going to meet me? What's going to happen? Just were dispelled. And when we got to Ghana, you
Hmm.
had Cultured Ghana, Benjamin Taylor, meet
Hmm.
us at the airport. When I tell you, and I'm going to interview him later, but when I tell you, he was with us from the beginning to
Yeah.
the end
Hmm.
of the entire trip
Hmm.
with the excursions. And when you talk to me about the excursions, because I told you my partner had a few little,
Hmm.
walking issues, but it was just like there are no words. One, there are no words for the experience that you created for us, but there are no words for the emotions that
Yeah.
you feel
Yes. Yes.
when you go to, I mean, it's sort of like you're living in the present, but you're going back in time to
Hmm.
see where you came from, the journey, the walk, the
Hmm.
everything, because you created where we went back,
Yes.
but we also ended up in Accra in 2025.
Correct. Correct.
So it was like this time travel thing.
Hmm.
So what I like mostly is that I don't do group trips. It was just me and my partner, but you
Hmm.
can do group trips, and the curation that you do, the back and forth conversations. I want to applaud you and thank you for that.
Oh yes, I mean because everybody travels differently. I am the person I jump off planes, I do that kind of stuff. But then other people, they're they're not slower, but they are more intentioned as they like to travel. And so I really try to take that into consideration. What are your needs? How can I meet your needs so that travel is not something that you're afraid of, that you're fearful of, that you can really enjoy and get the best experience out of, because that's at the end of the day, that's what I want to provide to people, is an experience. And for me, I like to tell a story, right? And you just described the story I wanted you to hear, like when you go to the last bath. For me, the last bath is probably the most significant experience that I've ever had across all of my journeys, because for me, I could hear the ancestors talking to me from the river. Like,
Yes.
you can feel what they felt in that journey, going to take their last bath before they go to the slave castles. And you can feel that transition into present day life, and you see kind of how present day Accra is. But I really enjoy hearing that narrative from the guy who is at the water, and he's talking about,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
welcoming Black Americans home. And a lot of times, even in my travels in Africa, I don't always feel as a Black American as welcomed. But in Ghana, I feel welcome. I feel like this is my home. I'm
Yep.
coming home. It's that homecoming type feeling. So that's the experience I want you to have, is like experience the past, experience the present, and then how can you use it in your own future lives?
In the times that you've been to Ghana, and this is my one time, but to me, it looks like one side is still
Yes.
back in time, and then you
Yes.
go across the street and it looks really
Yes.
developed.
Developed. Yes.
So over your time going there, does it seem to you that it's a fast pace of development or a slow pace of development?
I think, every year I've gone to Ghana, I've seen new developments. And I think it's because of the tourism industry. I think, 2019, the year of return, Ghana kicked that off and they really embraced tourism. A lot of West African countries and African countries in general don't really embrace tourism because for whatever reason, not kind of wanting foreigners in, not really understanding how tourism would work for them. But Ghana really embraced it. And so by embracing tourism, they're really like getting in funds and dollars and infrastructure now. I mean, you see a lot of outside influence that's trying to come and build. So it's a lot of Chinese influence that are coming to build. You see a lot of development near like the Cape Coast area because people are seeing how many African Americans really want to come back and see. And the more that Ghana is being promoted on social media, the more the infrastructure is starting to build. But there is this tension between wanting to build and then kind of taking care of the people who are here. And then some of the people just want to remain in the life that they have developed. So for instance, I've gone personally and then brought groups to villages in Ghana. And those villages in Ghana want to keep their culture, want to keep their heritage, want to not necessarily be in present day American technology and stuff like that. They appreciate their culture, their roots, how they are, how they live. And so it's an interesting tension between keeping that culture, keeping that village life, but then also how can you move into Western world? And do you even want to move into Western world?
Mhm.
And then marrying the two together. So,
And for me, I was just going for the experience.
mm,
But as I talk to people and they kind of like, well, what do you do in the States? And I told them I did entrepreneurship. And as an entrepreneur, as I traveled through Accra, Cape Coast, I was like,
so
it's
much
just
you can
wide
do.
open. It's wide open.
Yes.
And their minds and their mentality, to me, is the foundation of entrepreneurship because they always had to create. They always had to figure out how
Hmm.
to live, how to earn money, what to do next, how to feed their
Hmm.
families. So when I talked to them about it, I was just overwhelmed at how much they one know how much space there is to grow, but also I was
Yes.
cognizant of not being a Westerner trying to come in and tell them what to do
Hmm.
because I wanted
Hmm.
to absorb, because I want to learn.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to learn.
Hmm.
So, what I took from all of that as I went through that, and I've kind of talked to you a little bit about it. Benjamin from Cultured Ghana,
Hmm.
he took me to Fields
Hmm.
94 Chop Bar,
Right, right,
where
right.
I made fufu and met Joseph.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
he took me to Lemon Lounge in Cape
yes.
Coast, which is an
Hmm.
amazing establishment. And he also took
Hmm.
me to Rose's Garden, which is an American
Hmm. Yes.
owned, beautiful restaurant. So as I'm going through my thing, I'm thinking, I'm coming back. So I talked to Benjamin about
Yes.
it, and that's when I decided to do the Business Council Accra and Ghana. And what my
Hmm.
intent is to just come back with a couple of us go to Fields
Hmm.
94 for fufu and the
Hmm.
meals, and go to Lemon Lounge and just talk about networking and entrepreneurship. Not to say this is how we do it, but to kind of
Hmm.
say, well, this is kind of what we do, and take what you need from it, and then
Yes.
reach out to their own communities in a way that works for them. So, with
Yes.
that, of course, you'll be a big part of getting me back there and
Yes.
helping me curate that experience.
Right.
But what I want to ask you is that, do you find, or have you found, that there are Americans that are trying to relocate or start businesses there, and how you navigate that space?
So I definitely, I mean, even friends of mine have gone back to Accra, started businesses. I think that we as Black Americans have to be careful how we go back,
Mm.
because sometimes we take with us a westernized, colonized mentality, and we try to impart that on African people. And what I say by colonizing attitude, sometimes in some of the businesses that I know that are Black American owned and just American owned in general, we're trying to get down to the lowest dollar we can possibly get to. Right? Like if something in the US costs $10, we go to Ghana, we know that it's going to be cheaper. And so instead of offering something fair, we sometimes oh, I'll give you a dollar. If it costs $10 in the US, I'm only going to give you a dollar. Even though for them, a dollar is not going to do anything. Maybe $3 or something like that. And so I think that we as people have to be careful that we don't take that same do or die, because in American entrepreneurship is do or die, is cutthroat, is you're gonna do whatever you have to do to make a buck. And that's not necessarily African culture. You know what I mean? African culture for that I've experienced is more family, is more if I got flour, you got sugar, we can
Oh,
put it together to make a cake, right? And so, but American culture will be, you got flour, let me go steal this flour from you, or let me not pay you for your flour or pay you appropriately. So I think that we were talking about like the last bath and kind of that experience, and that how we were taken and we are coming back. But I think that we have to, when we come back, one, we have to make sure that we are cognizant of the culture, and
yes.
the things that we impart are things that are aligned with the culture of Ghana or Africa or any other country, and not always aligned to American culture, because American culture sometimes is not the best, especially when you're talking business and things like that.
Hmm.
So I I see a lot of, and there's kind of this thing about Black Americans not surviving or doing well in the culture. And I think a lot of it is that Black Americans sometimes don't want to ingratiate or like really dive into the culture. Even with Black Americans wanting to have their own village and city within Ghana, instead of really like
Hmm.
being with the people of Ghana and embracing being Ghanaian. When we want to, like I said, the colonizer mentality, we want to go off on our own. So I think, to answer your question, I'm rambling, but yes, we're coming back, but we got to be careful how we come back, and we got to make sure that we treat people, that we really take ownership and have that imparted in us what African culture is, and not try to replace that with our American ideals.
And that was one of the main things when I was leaving there, is that I wanted them. Joseph Fulfills 94 and Lemon Lounge to understand that my intent is not to come
Mhm.
in and say this is how you need to do it.
Right, right.
My intent is to talk to them, they talk to me, we see what works and
Hmm.
what doesn't, and then for them to really be able to stand up their community in
Hmm.
terms of entrepreneurship. Because what I found is, oh, they gonna get it done. Oh,
Yes,
it's no doubt in my mind they going to create what they want, but they also are looking at the West because they want to be not competition per se, but they want to be able to compete with the rest of the world
yes.
in that space.
Yeah,
So they know they need some kind of fundamentals so that they can sustain a business. And that's my intent. And fortunately, you hooked me up with some great people.
yes.
Benjamin, I don't even know the words to say. One, that's my ex-husband's name, Benjamin Taylor. So
Oh!
it was the universe. But
But
it,
one thing I appreciate about Benjamin is that I feel like he gets it and gets where Ghana can go within the tourism industry. Because, tourism is like $1 trillion industry, and Africans, Ghanaian, Senegalese, anywhere you go, I feel like Africans do not take as much ownership of that piece of the pie of tourism. And I
yes,
think that Benjamin gets it as far as where they can go, how they can really promote Africa to the world, and how Africans can get a piece of it. But I think that you're right in that they do need us to tell them how. Um, I don't want to say tell them how, but
share,
to give
share.
share, yes, share how they can maybe do it differently as far as what are the expectations um, for Americans who come to Ghana, right? What are their, because and that's the kind of the tension, right? So a lot of Black Americans, they want to go to Ghana, but they don't necessarily want all of the inconveniences that sometimes come with being in an African country, right? So we're used to things being on time, on time, on time. And in Africa, that's not it's not gonna be on time. It used to like roads being able to get from one place to another place in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Sometimes it could be an hour or two based upon how the roads are structured. And so I think like but I think that Benjamin sees the vision that, if Ghana can get some of their infrastructure together,
Mhm.
like it is no stopping them. And so I think how, like you're saying, like we're sharing, like these are some of the things that are going to attract people to come to Ghana. Being nice, being friendly, which I think Ghana gets that
Oh my
friendliness.
God.
They
I
get that.
felt like a queen.
Yes. It's always yes, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Yes, please. No,
Yes, please. No, please. You know what I mean? Like, but you go to some other countries, it's not like they don't have that same mentality. So I think like bringing in some of those things that would make them stand out and make people want to come, and then sharing those things in a way that they could take it and utilize it for their culture. But I definitely Benjamin, his way of, and I've used different tour guides when I've brought people to Ghana, but Benjamin goes above and beyond, and he really sees like how tourism is utilized in other countries, like those gift bags, you know what I mean? Making sure that the communication, right? Making sure when as a guide here in America and curating trips, I need to know like I can keep up with my folks abroad, and Benjamin does a great job of that,
yes.
and that's what people appreciate. So I think that he gets it. I think his business in Ghana is going to grow tremendously because he's
Mhm.
taking things taking pieces that work around the world and putting that Ghanaian flow to it, and it's going to be a fabulous business.
Well, thank you so much, Ruth. And I want, of course, I'll be talking to you because you're going to be curating my next trip back, which will be May of 2026. But
Mhm.
if somebody wants to plan a trip or get in contact with you, how do they reach you? What's best? Because you're always traveling.
I'm always traveling. So I would tell them they can email me. So it's another word, WORD, for travel at gmail.com. You can go to my website is www.anotherwordfortravel.com. You can see some of what our offerings are. You can drop me a note there. You can give me a call. My telephone number is 703-869-5082. I'm always willing to and open and want to give you the best experience of your life as you're traveling. As Miss Sharon knows, I'm with you before, during,
And
after.
after.
I'm always gonna check up on you. It doesn't matter the time of the day because I'm probably in the same time zone as you because I'm traveling as well. So yes, I always try to curate a good experience for any of my clients. And I love working with Miss Sharon. I think what you're doing for Ghana is really going to help them propel their tourism industry. So
And
thank you.
thank you, Ruth. And we will be chatting on the other side.
On the other side, thank you.
Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.